Breakfast good day, every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Breakfast good day, every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
What's wrong?
They took all my precious stuff.
Did they harm you?
Just when they were about to, they hit the siren and bolted.
Scout the area. You don't have security cameras?
They stole everything.
I thought you used ghost cameras from security.
Security warehouse?
Yes, you should. They couldn't have gotten away the way they did without either being electrocuted or being caught on a CCTV camera.
Unless you go, I'll bring. So today is Friday, so like they say, thank God it's Friday. My name is Kwame Owusu Danso. So super excited to come your way with yet another very informative edition of Good Morning Africa. Like I tell you every day, is undoubtedly the most authoritative show, a show that introduces you to the things that you are very much aware of but have not placed a lot of emphasis on. And so we try as much as possible to delve deeper into all of these issues, and we try also to, where possible, proffer some solutions to the issues that we've raised. And that is what Good Morning Africa stands for, and that's what the Newspaper Review segment stands for. We stand for truth, we stand for equity, we stand for justice. Now, this morning we're going to be looking at a plethora of issues here. Before I introduce my panelists, or rather, let me introduce my panelists because I'm very excited about this morning. Okay, right, hold on. I'll just introduce the topics before I introduce my panelists for the conversation today. Protest hits Cote d'Ivoire over leader's third term bid. Daily Graphic reported that particular story. And if you are a Pan-Africanist, I'm sure you are pretty aware that some of these things are happening across, particularly the French-speaking countries. You know what is happening currently in Togo. And so what is happening in Ivory Coast is no different from what is happening in Togo. We're going to be dealing with all of these issues, plus all the other African presidents who have found whatever need there is to stay or to hang on to power. We will try and interrogate why. We will also try and interrogate the ramifications of their continuing stay in power and the effect it may have on the deriding effect it may have on the citizenry. It is very important that one issue must have certain derivatives, and we're going to be dealing with those derivatives and, of course, the extraries that flow from the derivatives. So we're going to be dealing with this particular African story, which, of course, also has some finds expression or is incidental really to our own democratic experiment, particularly because Cote d'Ivoire is just our next door neighbor. And so it's very important to always find a way of having conversations about issues that are happening in other African countries, because whether you like it or not, it has some correlation to what we are doing here in Ghana. Also on the front page of the Daily Searchlight, Sami Ewuku, the national organizer of the NPP, has been talking. Yesterday, I watched in bits the press conference that was held by the NPP, and Sami Ewuku was the one who led that conversation. And indeed, he said so many things. And one of the things that he said was that Ghanaians should reject John Dramani Mahama because he has no plans to fulfill his promises. Cited varied reasons why. In fact, also made certain very funny, assumptions yesterday. But all in all, I think it was a very apt delivery, succinct delivery. His composure was spot on. His command over the presentation was also very, very, very laudable. However, we need to interrogate the content or the substance of the presentation that was put forward. And many, including myself, we're asking the question, why the focus, the deliberate focus really on the previous administration as opposed to the current administration and what it has done? Because if you have done so many things in your administration, then there's no need, going back into time and questioning that which was done by your predecessor. I think that the focus and attention must be directed at your administration and what you have done, for which reason the Ghanaian people should maintain you. So I think going forward, the NPP must learn to really trumpet their personal achievements as opposed to always criticizing the erstwhile administration. Akufo-Addo steals Mohammed's greenhouse project and names it after himself. Daily Post reported that particular story. And this morning, surprisingly, when I opened my Facebook page, that was the first thing I saw. People were trying to pull stories from Ghana Web and comparing it with what transpired. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago when the president inaugurated the greenhouse project? So we will also deal with that particular issue. EC chairperson makes startling revelation: minors foreigners bloat new register. Now, on the basis of some of these infractions that characterize the registration process, ASEPA found it relevant to petition the president. Now, their petition was very, very simple: that the president should start the process for the removal of the electoral commissioner, Madame Jean Adukwe Mensah, primarily owing to some of these infractions that have been verbally put forward by the EC itself and persons who partook in this particular process. So of course, there was a response from the quarters of the presidency, and that particular response appears to be dealing with that particular petition that was forwarded to the president. I am very, very excited this morning. I'm excited because I'm seeing my big brothers here seated in the studio. Big brothers who are going to aid in a very wonderful conversation. Big brothers who have consistently, without fail, made sure that their participation in having a very decorous conversation about Ghana, continues to exist. And so I'm happy this morning. Good morning to you, Sabo Adam, and a special good morning, special one goes out to the incoming MP for Nadoli Kalio constituency. I like the way Ivy says it, constituency. He has been in the constituency for some time now, trying to familiarize himself the more and to fraternize the more and to let the people know that the obvious choice of voting for him must not be questioned at all. Indeed, he is the person who holds the magic wand to propel the constituents who live within that particular enclave to where they want to be. Like I always say, you need people who will articulate your concerns and represent you. Representation is very, very, very crucial, especially at this material time and in this our political experiment that we're engaged in. It's very, very, very crucial that you get somebody who has the heart of a lion and the soul of an angel to be able to represent you and deal with the issues confronting you. But Admona certainly is that person. I mean, it's not because it's my friend. I've engaged them on different fronts. We've had very private conversations, and I can assure you that his heart is on his sleeves, and he really cares about every single one of you in Nadole constituency. And so please, the young, the old, the aged, the disabled, you know, the less privileged, the underprivileged, the more privileged, you know what to do. Come December 7th, 2020. Politics must not only be centered around two political parties. It must be centered around people who have ideas and people who are standing behind their ideas and people who have put their conscience behind their policies and are going to deliver in the general interest of its people. And I want to represent that particular, individual, you know, who embodies all of these things that I'm talking about. Bernard, good morning.
Good morning, Kwame.
And how are we?
By your prayers, I have always been fine.
Fantastic. But the seat won't be you've won. But I'm wondering, after you have won, if I'll be able to come and drink the usual cocoa in your house. You know you dear, you like cocoa. You are like the ordinary man on the street.
Actually, if you get to Sankana, if I were to be in Sankana by now, I would have finished a bowl of TZ.
Yeesh.
And I would have had one calabash of pito, which we normally call the ansuma.
Now I know why
And then-
Sabo sometimes fights with you, because you see you were enjoying the Tozafi alone. Sabo, did he ever even invite you to come and eat Tozafi?
But why should I invite Sabo when Sabo it is his home?
So Sabo has decided not to invite
You
himself.
invite somebody to his own home. That's not right.
Sabo has decided not to invite himself.
Besides that, what he's saying is normal.
Right.
In fact, it's normal in the even some even go to the extent of taking fufu early in the morning.
No, I eat,
Yes.
we call it samaho. In the morning, I get my samaho. And you know, they bring me the vegetable soup. And then they will put the shea butter in the middle of it. So as you don't know what you are missing. You
No,
should
I'm
come-
actually missing, which is why
you
I
should
want you
come-
to take me to
you
that.
know, when you come and they do just dawa and then the kitab
Yeah.
voice, then they put the shea butter in the middle. Then you will understand what I'm talking about. Because this one, when you eat it, I can tell you, COVID and then and all those things,
Yeah.
they don't come near.
You say it's called Samaho.
Samaho.
Samaho. I like the name. Samaho.
No, sao is TZ.
Okay.
And then maho is cold, so cold TZ.
Oh, Samaho.
Samaho.
Samaho. I see. I think I'm actually a nod now. Maybe I'm from there. I love the names. I love the food. I love everything, the batakaya and everything. All right. Okay. So these are the issues that we've tabled for our conversation. Let me remind you quickly again that the WhatsApp number is active. It's 0260846539. 0260846539. And so for the lovers of Pan African television, I'm sure you know Amaprat. Amaprat is in Tamale. So you people should go and meet her and say hello. Hello, Amma. Hello.
Go to Sankana.
She will go to Sankana.
All the time, you people, you like just going by flight. Go by road and then go to Sankana and see what is there.
Yeah, but you
because
won't
it's easier to go by flight.
You won't say, okay, Kwame, I'll take you to Sankana by road. You won't say that.
Why?
Have you taken me to Sankana?
You don't have a car.
Eh?
You can't drive. I should drive you.
Yes. When you are going there, invite me. We'll go together.
No, I want you to come by yourself.
Okay, I'll come by myself. Anyway, so we're kickstarting the conversation with the protest that has hit Cote d'Ivoire over leaders' third term bid. Respectfully, Sabo, I would want to start with you on this particular one, this particular issue, which has to do with Cote d'Ivoire. Let me just read a little bit of the story for the purposes of having a better understanding of it. Now, the police in Cote d'Ivoire have fired tear gas at opposition supporters protesting against President Alassane Ouattara's decision to run for a third term in office. Demonstrators defied a ban on protests, erecting barricades and burning tires in the commercial capital Abidjan and elsewhere. At least 2 people are reported to have been killed during clashes on Wednesday between the opposition and supporters of the government party. Mr. Ouattara decided to run again after his party's nominated successor, Prime Minister Amadou Gon Coulibaly, died unexpectedly last month. The move marks a sharp turnaround for Mr. Ouattara, who said in March that he would not run for re-election in the world's top cocoa producer. But his party asked him to reconsider, following the sudden death of his chosen successor, Prime Minister Amadou Gon Coulibaly, last month. Mr. Ouattara was officially nominated last week, and he subsequently accepted on Thursday. Quote, "I have decided to respond favorably to the call of my fellow citizens." He said in a televised speech, given my previous promise, this decision represents a real sacrifice for me. The 78-year-old had for years publicly toyed with the idea of running again, even as political rivals said the constitution forbade it. Ouattara has said the new constitution adopted in 2016, which included a 2-term limit, does not apply to his first 2 terms. Observers had warned that a push for a 3rd term could raise tensions that have been rising ahead of the October poll 9 years after a bloody civil war. Now, the interesting aspect is that most of these African presidents or African leaders do not learn from the experiences of their own colleagues in other parts of the continent. I mean, look at what happened in Gambia. Look at what happened to our very own Robert Mugabe. Look at what is currently happening in Togo, you know, and several other places. If you look at Sudan, how even Sudan was split into 2, Sudan and South Sudan. Even in Sudan proper, look at what is happening in Ethiopia. So I don't know why most of these African leaders do not listen to their inner conscience, you know, to do what is right by the law and what is right by the people. Sabo, let me hear from you on this subject matter.
Thank you, Kwame. Let me take this opportunity to say good morning to our cherished viewers. Good morning to the good people of New York and the people of Tamale, and that of my brother. He's been in the north, if I'm not mistaken, almost 10 weeks or 9 weeks, canvassing for vote. It doesn't look stressful. I mean, it doesn't even look like somebody, because I know the terrain very well, and I was expecting to see a very, what do you call it, a tired face this morning. It's by the grace of God, inshallah. And a good morning to yourself, Kwame, and the crew. And wherever my elder brother too is, Alaji ABFC, Honorable Alaji ABFC, my regards to him.
Why?
Kwame, with the issue of Côte d'Ivoire, it is our issue. It is our problem. Côte d'Ivoire, we have so many things in common, apart from being neighbors. Even if you look at the ethnic groups in Ghana, some of them cut across Côte d'Ivoire. We have people living in Ghana and having their workplace in Côte d'Ivoire.
True.
We also have people living in Côte d'Ivoire and having their workplace in Ghana. We have relations, aunties and uncles, I mean, crisscrossing within this, especially when you go to the Nzima area. Some Nzima are found on the other side of the Côte d'Ivoire, and others are found on our side. So whatever happens, so it's like the relationship between Côte d'Ivoire is just like the nose and the eyes. So whatever happens in Côte d'Ivoire has some sort of a rippling effect in Ghana, taking it from economic, political, social, cultural, and whatever. So it is something that we need to actually worry about, and also do our best to make sure that Côte d'Ivoire return to normalcy. However, Kwame, I don't know much about the history of Côte d'Ivoire, but I know Houphouët-Boigny is their first president, the one who brought them to independence. And from 1960 to 1993. Then after him, I think it was Konan Bedie who came. Then after Konan Bedie, then this man, the one who is now, who was tried recently,
Laurent Gbagbo?
Laurent Gbagbo. I think Laurent Gbagbo, he even came through military coup this thing, and then later on was elected as a president before Alassane Ouattara also came. And I believe the event that actually led to the presidency of Alassane Ouattara is still fresh on our minds, and the scars can visibly be seen on the faces and the voices of the people of La Côte d'Ivoire. It was an event that the whole world felt that Alassane Ouattara was on the right path, and that of what do you call it, Laurent Gbagbo was actually not the one. If you remember, even when the constitution, they had a constitutional something to declare whoever is a winner. Constitutional court, thank you very much. One, they were compelled by the then president Laurent Gbagbo to overturn the whole thing. The French had to bring in their forces into La Côte d'Ivoire, and we all know what actually happened, the kind of uprising that took place in La Côte d'Ivoire, initiating from the capital, and then getting into flames in the north, and the whole of Côte d'Ivoire was in turmoil. We know, in fact, those who lived around Libo, Nkrofo, and I'm talking about Nkrofo, the Hafasine area, Elembele, Hafasine, and the rest all. In fact, were those who felt it much. And I believe as we speak, there are people who even came into Ghana through that one have not returned to Côte d'Ivoire. As we speak, have now decided to settle in Ghana because of the experiences that they went through. And of course, the economic gains that Côte d'Ivoire also made over the years. Because I think Côte d'Ivoire, before this particular issue, somewhere in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in the somewhere in the mid 80s, Côte d'Ivoire became, very attractive, not only to West African countries, but to other African countries. A lot of Ghanaians moved to Côte d'Ivoire in search of greener pasture because they were doing very well. And even in terms of infrastructure, Côte d'Ivoire was far, far, far ahead of its sister countries in West Africa and the rest. But this particular trouble actually eroded most of the gains that they've made over the years. And finally, when Alassane Ouattara was ushered into power, I believe they also organized a reconciliatory, committee to make sure that they patch up their differences and move on as a nation. So we thought all this thing has been put in the past, and then Côte d'Ivoire has charted a new path until when Alassane Ouattara decided to make his vice president succeed him. And then the unexpected happened. So Kwame, now what we need to look at here, this is purely constitutional issues. So what does the constitution of Côte d'Ivoire, or better still Ivory Coast, states with regards to this particular issue? Is it that Alassane Ouattara still has a chance to make a comeback? I said, he has not even left exerted power yet. Yeah, to continue as the president of La Côte d'Ivoire, or Alassane Ouattara is stepping beyond bounds. And Kwame, again, you know who I'm going to mention here again? AU.
Your best friends.
My best friends. If I say it again. Again, AU is the best body, or better still, ECOWAS, to be able to let us understand the story that is being told in Côte d'Ivoire today, that is so incomprehensible for the people of Côte d'Ivoire, and even including some of us here, that is generating the kind of heat that we are feeling now. So I strongly believe the people of Côte d'Ivoire themselves, ECOWAS and AU, can help us out of this particular matter. But if indeed it is, the Constitution allows for Alassane Ouattara to continue as a president, then I don't see the need for all this brouhaha, because it was a decision that was made by his party that he's stepping down for his vice president to succeed him. So if the vice president is dead today and looking around, there's nobody that he can actually lean on, or even better still, the party to ride on to power come their their election, and he feels that he's the only person who can save the situation. I don't see anything wrong. But on the other hand, if he's going against the provisions of the Constitution, and it is something that is not being allowed, I don't even see why AU and ECOWAS should be sitting down and allow him to create. Mostly what I mean, Kwame, I don't know. I want to explain my ignorance here. I don't know why sometimes these bodies don't see, because normally they will normally talk of sovereignty and what, but they will see this tension building up gradually, and then they will wait until lives and properties are lost before now they will come to, this kind of military intervention and the rest. So I believe if something drastic can be done, we don't even want a drop of blood to actually get out of Cote d'Ivoire, so that we can get this situation resolved. Not only getting the parties doing the right thing, but also getting Cote d'Ivoire united to continue to work as hard as they've been working before. If you observe, in the past, especially the time of President Kufuor up to date, we are now catching up with Cote d'Ivoire in terms of cocoa production. Absolutely. We are almost taking over from them. And I strongly believe partly is because of this kind of economic, political instability that has hit the Cote d'Ivoire, and of course, political tension that is also not allowing maybe the right programs and policies to be put in place for them to continue on the path that they have charted for themselves. So Kwame, I wouldn't want to talk much, but like I'll end this with the Gbani proverb, which has now become almost like an African proverb, that when you see your neighbor's beard burning, then you need to get water closer to yourself or start shaving yours.
Absolutely.
Or after it is yours. So I believe as a nation, we should take cue from this and then make it a better, place for all of us.
Thank you very much, Sabo. Well, let me remind you that we have a little challenge with the WhatsApp number. So as much as possible, try sending your messages on Facebook. Try sending your messages on Facebook. I will make time to read as many Facebook messages as possible. We have a little challenge with the WhatsApp number. So please, I'm imploring all of you to try and send your messages via Facebook, and I will read them here for you on the show. Let me remind you again that we're discussing the issue in Cote d'Ivoire, the fact that a certain protest has hit Cote d'Ivoire over leaders' third-term bid by the opposition. 2 persons have been confirmed dead, several others injured, and there's a very worrying issue here that must be addressed. Bernard, but before that, let me welcome into the studios Honorable ABA Indefatigable Fuseni, of course, the lion of Saginarugu constituency. Good morning.
Good morning, Kwame.
I love you. Who does your nose mask for you? He's a son of the lion of Saginarugu. Son of the lion, exactly. Of Saginarugu.
Nagbewa himself is a lion.
Of course, okay. Me, I don't know. I'm still learning.
Kwame, I still want to grow. So if you make me the lion now, they will eat me up.
But who makes your nose mask for you?
Oh, we have a number of tailors, some in our constituency.
So these ones are made in your constituency?
Yes. Kwame.
Charlie,
Saginarugu is a great place. You can find anything.
This one,
and don't forget that all the educational institutions in Tamale, there is Saginarugu.
This one, I think, is one part of the One District One Factory project. You cannot take this away from.
In fact, long before One District One Factory, we had factories already doing some of this.
No, but this particular one you are wearing is from.
This is it's
born out of One District One Factory. Bernard, let's hear from you on this Cote d'Ivoire. You ideally mentioned Togo because I know how you are still at war with Togo, but I'm sure definitely you will rope in Togo somehow. So let's hear from you.
No, I was actually going to commend Ivan for his spectacular smoke. Unfortunately, he's not.
Ivan Bans, where is he?
I just saw that.
Where is he?
He showed for me to see that he's wearing a beautiful smoke. Just when ABA entered,
he was following ABA.
Yeah, so that we
ABA special aid.
but let me start by saying good morning to Alhaji ABA Fuseni, and also to my brother Sabo, and of course to you, Kwame, for the splendid words you poured on me this morning. I am now convinced that if ever I die, my tribute book will be rich, because of the kind of words I've seen here, and in particular that when I'm not on the show, Sabo can give good attributions to me, and when I'm on the show, he takes.
He doesn't like you. He takes
a banter.
Human beings like the person who is absent.
Because last week or so, I could see that he was charged and so passionate about my person, and I'm grateful. Maybe I should be absenting more. So
you should be campaigning more. So we'll call you to the show. when there's issue of alliance, we'll call you to the show.
But a beautiful and wonderful good morning to the people of Nadolika Leu and to the entire PNC fraternity across the country. I can assure you that there is no doubt that the people of Nadolika Leu are getting out of their individual political party affiliations and to look for what is good for the constituency. And therefore, most of them just find that in terms of quality representation, in terms of somebody who will be tough and stubborn on the pursuits of the goals of our constituency, none can match me. To that extent, they have virtually come across political divide to lend their support to me. Some, I can say, morally, some materially, because people are doing things that sometimes I only go to the part of the community to realize that somebody has already started his or her own projects about Bernard Mona. People are printing their own T-shirts. People are doing billboards and other things. And I am amazed that I get to a community where I think that I'm now going for the first time, only to realize that somebody from within the constituency, the community, has done something mammoth for me. People are printing their own T-shirts, you know, and they are giving it out to people just for the love of the candidate that is in the constituency. So it's amazing, and I am thankful. Some of them don't even want me to know that they are doing these things. So
myself and ABA will print for you some T-shirts.
I will be glad. ABA has been doing some.
And Sabo will print posters.
As for Sabo, his contribution I don't want to mention on air, but he's been very supportive. Yeah. So I think that I'm much magnified by these kind of gestures, and sometimes the people I don't even know, you know, people who don't even come from the area, who are so enthusiastic about the fact that they want to see me in Parliament, is too encouraging, and I say thank you. Kwame, you want us to discuss Côte d'Ivoire, but I also want us to discuss it in the broader context of the leadership crisis that we have in our continent. Yesterday or so, I had the unpleasant duty, and you do know that Professor PLO Lumumba is my friend, and I had to chat him on WhatsApp when I saw that he had made some attributions of who qualifies to be in his cabinet. And so I forwarded that story to him and said that I don't understand the basis for which he will make the attribution that President Akufo-Addo could make into his cabinet, because this is a man who portrays himself as a Pan-Africanist. That is, PLO Lumumba. Yeah. And so therefore, if you are a Pan-Africanist, you will look at somebody who will act in a manner that will promote Pan-Africanism. In particular, that PLO Lumumba is an avowed Nkrumahist. You don't go to want to eulogize somebody whose stock in trade is to vitiate the achievements of Kwame Nkrumah and all that. And then when I asked, I think at a point he was getting a bit agitated, and he said that he would think that I should make up my own list of who African leaders would be. Then I said, no, sir, Prof. We should have qualities and traits that collectively we can say these are the traits we are looking for the people who qualifies into the African cabinet. But for each and every person to just get up and make your choice of who an African, somebody qualified to be an African cabinet will be, it means that we are not heading anywhere. And I'm yet to get a response from him. But of course, as you know, even my very good friends, I can engage you in a debate on decency, on policy content, so that at the end of the day, if you convince me with superior arguments, I will accept your position. So in the case of PLO Lumumba, that is what we engage in since yesterday, and I hope that he will come back to me this morning also. But Kwame, more importantly, the leadership crisis in Africa is enormous, Sabo. It is not yet the crisis in Togo, or the crisis in Cameroon, or the crisis in Cote d'Ivoire. It is the crisis that engulfs the entire continent of Africa, and we must be very worried about it. Now, what is the crisis that we are facing now in Cote d'Ivoire? It is a crisis of whether Laurent Gbagbo's removal was legitimate or not. So, just a little correction. The first president, of course, is Ofebuan, followed by his son, Konan Bedie. But Konan Bedie's term was truncated by Robert Gueye. You know, Robert Gueye took up arms and terminated Konan Bedie's tenure. And soon after he terminated his tenure, there were uproar from ECOWAS, led by Rawlinson and co., that no, we don't want military insurgents in the continent or in the sub-region. And therefore, Robert Gueye had to succumb to the call for democratic elections, in that he disqualified Konan Bedie and also disqualified Alassane Ouattara on the issue of citizenship. Remember that Alassane Ouattara has been prevented from participating in elections in Cote d'Ivoire on the basis that they say that his grandparents comes from Burkina Faso. It's actually Burkina Faso. That his grandparents come from Burkina Faso, and on the basis of that, he couldn't be a citizen of Cote d'Ivoire. And this went on. Meanwhile, he was prime minister to Ofebuan. So somebody who rose through the ranks to become prime minister cannot become president.
Not being denied.
When the time came, because they say that no, part of his relationships are in Burkina Faso. That issue led to very difficult circumstances in Cote d'Ivoire. Eventually, when Robert Gueye decided to ban Alassane Ouattara and Konan Bedie from participating in the elections, what happened? An unknown or a small party led by Laurent Gbagbo was virtually supported by Alassane Ouattara's supporters. And Alassane Ouattara himself declared that all his supporters should vote for Laurent Gbagbo. Konan Bedie also asked his supporters to vote for Laurent Gbagbo. At the end of the day, the unknown Laurent Gbagbo emerged victor. To the dismay of the leader, because you would have seen that almost every chief in Cote d'Ivoire went to pledge their loyalty and their support for Robert Gueye. At the end of the day, when he didn't win, he wanted to stay in power. But the forces in Africa prevented him from staying in power, and therefore Laurent Gbagbo became the president. Soon after that, it was orchestrated that he was planning a coup even as he was sitting in his house. They went and killed him in his house. And after that, Laurent Gbagbo took over power. He decided that he was not going to, the environment was not yet good and safe for political transition. So after 2 terms, he went for the 3rd term, and in the 3rd term, elections were conducted. And in that elections, obviously, the Constitutional Court had declared Laurent Gbagbo as the winner. But the Electoral Commission had declared Alassane Ouattara as the winner. And to the extent that France and other people who were supporting Alassane Ouattara invaded the presidency and decided that they would take Laurent Gbagbo out because the Electoral Commission had declared. And indeed, you know that they declared the elections in a hotel. They hijacked the Electoral Commission, went and declared the elections, and then after that, the Electoral Commission had to be taken out of the country, making life impossible for the judges. So the judges had to run to Ghana. And when the judges ran to Ghana, majority of them, it was going to be difficult for Alassane Ouattara to be sworn in as president, because the Constitutional Court must sit, for him to be sworn in as president. And here is the case, none of the members of the judges were there. And you could not also have appointed justices into the Supreme Court. It had to take negotiation between President Mills and Alassane Ouattara for the judges who had come to Ghana to be flown from Ghana to Cote d'Ivoire. So just for the purposes of swearing in, and that they will be allowed to come back because the judges were not interested in going to Cote d'Ivoire any longer. So that special arrangement was made. And so Ghana had to airlift the justices from Ghana to Cote d'Ivoire, where they sworn in Alassane Ouattara as the president, and immediately they came back. And that ensured the political transition in Cote d'Ivoire. With this, one would have thought that Alassane Ouattara, having suffered and gone through this, and given that Cote d'Ivoire had assented to the ECOWAS protocols on good governance and democracy, where the 2-term limits imposed on ECOWAS countries was one of the bases for the charter. Alassane Ouattara should not want to do anything contrary to this charter that he himself has signed. Because at the time of the signatures, all the ECOWAS countries has assented to it. You understand? Except the Gambia and Togo. And they were waiting for all the countries to have assented. Then it was Hanatete who was then the Minister for Foreign Affairs and also then the head of the Ministerial Committee of ECOWAS. She said, no, we can't hold back progress because of 2 countries. So let's move ahead. So Cote d'Ivoire is a signatory to the 2-term limits. So what has happened? That after declaring somewhere in February, March, that you are not going to go for a 3rd-term limit presidency, you have capitulated on that, and today Alassane Ouattara is leading his country into the murky grounds that Cote d'Ivoire suffered over a period. That eventually we think that is stabilizing. Alassane Ouattara of all is leading his country into that. The fact that your anointed successor passed on does not give you a right to come and assume a contest in the elections. You cannot determine for the people of Cote d'Ivoire who should be their next leader. In the case of this boy in the Democratic Republic of Congo, his anointed successor came a distant 3rd in the elections.
Oh, Tshisekedi?
No, not Tshisekedi.
What's his name?
Tshisekedi won Peter Tshisekedi won the elections. It was Fayula that lost.
This guy's protege. What's his name?
Kabila.
Kabila's protege. Yeah.
Joseph Kabila. It is his protege that lost the election. That was the anointed successor.
Yeah.
But he lost the elections. He came a distant 3rd. So even if you were putting your Koulibaly before the people of Cote d'Ivoire, what was the guarantee that the people will vote for him?
Would vote for Koulibaly, yes.
So that you think that because Koulibaly is not going to be there, you are going to suffer some persecutions. In any case, it is not always true that your successor, your anointed successor, will save you. We saw that in the Gambia, in Zambia. Remember, when Chuluba appointed Levi Manawaza and sacked almost everybody, and Levi Manawaza had to place him on house arrest until he died. Remember? You know, so it's not always the case that you are anointed. Even in the case of Ghana. Why? President Rawlings anointed Atta Mills, thinking that Atta Mills will every morning get up and come and say good morning. It didn't happen. In Nigeria, President Obasanjo brought in Yaradua.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Yeah.
So this mentality that, look, I have brought somebody and therefore the person is going to play and save me. If wrong is done. In fact, if you go to Angola, you see what is happening there.
In fact, look at your own Zimbabwe even.
You understand?
Even though it was not official.
You know, so the point I'm making is that it doesn't sit well for Alassane Ouattara, who have gone through these difficulties with Cote d'Ivoire, assume the leadership of Cote d'Ivoire. It took a lot of mediation for you to even get to sit as president. And as I said, President Mills played a more than vital role for the justices to accept to come and swear you in so that you can assume your office. Otherwise, there was crisis. You were pushed in as president, and yet you could not be sworn in as president. In the face of all this, one would have thought that Alassane Ouattara would have bowed the way Ellen Sirleaf Johnson bowed out, so that we can see democratic growth in Cote d'Ivoire. What he is doing is inimical and an affront to the quest for peace in Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah.
And anytime there's no peace in Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana is not safe.
No, that's true. Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina.
Ghana is not safe because people just walk into Ghana to come and farm. You understand? People walk into Cote d'Ivoire to go and farm. And as I know very well, if you go to the Sekwa area, it's difficult to even determine the boundaries between Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana. So, let me leave it at that.
Anyways, I thought you were going to rope in Togo somehow, because it appears that the same thing that is happening in Togo, in Cote d'Ivoire.
No, it has happened. It's happening.
It's crazy.
No, it's happening in Cameroon. We all know
yeah,
the crisis in Cameroon,
yeah.
and we are tongue-tied.
Oh yeah, all of us.
We are like this.
Yeah.
We are not talking. As for Cote d'Ivoire, I have kept quiet because it appears that the presidency of Ghana is complicit in the matters in Cote d'Ivoire, in Togo.
Yeah.
Because at any point in time, you went and said that you were going to mediate in the crisis in Togo when the opposition was at the peak of their struggle.
Recently, there was this other country that changed the constitution.
You understand? They were at the peak. The president went there only to go and tell the opposition, stop demonstrating, stop protesting, but I don't have a solution to your crisis. So why did you go there? And our Minister for National Security is always hobnobbing with the Minister for Interior of Cote d'Ivoire. But I'm saying that when the day of Togo, when the day of reckoning is coming, why? Who thought that Yahya Jammeh will run away and leave his sandals? Who thought that
Laurent Gbagbo?
No, not Laurent Gbagbo. Laurent Gbagbo was picked. Who thought that Blaise Compaoré, the so-called strong man, will run away and leave his sandals?
Burkina Faso.
That day will surely come, and no amount of military militarization or police ammunitions can stop the determination of a people.
Of the will of the people. Thank you very much. Well, let me remind you again that for some reasons we cannot accept WhatsApp or text messages. So respectfully, if you can share with me what your thoughts are via our social media platforms, I will be more than excited to read them for you. So please share them with us on our social media platforms. Facebook is Pan-African Television. If you're not following Pan-African Television, please kindly do that. You can be watching on TV, but you can just simply send your message on Facebook as well. I will be ready to read them here for you. Let me remind you that we're still talking Cote d'Ivoire, but before I move to Honorable ABF Hussein, who is here seated and who is ready to comment on this subject matter, I would like to respectfully go for a quick commercial break. Stay with us. Don't move a muscle, please. I shall return shortly.
Breakfast good day, every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Breakfast good day, every day. Every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying tuned into Pan-African Television. If you just joined us, you're watching a news review segment on Pan-African Television. We're still on the African continent because, like Bernard said in the dying embers of his submission, he said that whatever affects Cote d'Ivoire affects Ghana. So it's important for us to spend a little time on issues that are happening across the continent. Honorable ABF Hussein is here seated. Honorable, your comment on this subject matter before we move to discuss other issues, please.
Thank you very much. Let me say a good morning to myself to my brother Sabu and the return of the absentee, Comrade Benamona. He was absent for a very good reason.
Yeah.
And, I want to salute him. Kwame.
Yes, my boss.
Our people say that everybody will sit in the shade that we have constructed. And that when you see a rep corn, you can tell it by its look. I have no doubt in my mind that Comrade Benamona will grow, and by the grace of Allah, his greatness will show in the not too distant future. Whatever work you've done on the ground, you don't plant maize and harvest cassava. You will harvest it, and the work that has been done on the ground will speak. I think he just mentioned Professor, or this Zambian professor. Lumumba. Lumumba says this eloquently. If you have done a lot of work and the work has inured to the benefit of the people, you don't talk too much.
Yeah.
If you have to spend more time to talk more than the work you have done, my brother, it means your work is suspect. And that is what I've been saying about Sabo and his government, that the propaganda and everything they do every day to try and tell Ghanaians what they have done. If I've done the thing, the people will realize it and see the benefit. It's not there. So I want to salute him for patience by the grace of Allah. It was the little hippopotamus who asked the mother that, why are you so fat and big? Mother said, the answer was, pray for life for you to grow. The rest of the answer will come. So it's natural with the hippopotami, when they grow, their size will expand. So Kwame, I greet all of you, your technical people in the studio who make Pan-Africa fly all over. I think Pan-Africa is a household word today everywhere. My constituency, they are avid listeners of Pan-Africa. When you start your daily district, they'll be there till you go out. Let me say good morning to my evergreen Burkina people of the Sanargo constituency. Kwame, I want you to take note of this. Sanargo, I believe when the analysis of this voters registration is done, Sanargo will be at the top or among the top. I want to take this opportunity to salute the Burkina of Sanargo for the great work they've done, especially the activists of my party, the National Democratic Congress, in the massive mobilization that we've done. Kwame, can you believe it that in Sanargo alone, in this particular register, we moved from 43,000 to 71,000. Well, registered voters in Sanargo. From 43,000 to 71,000.
The way you said that, Sabu has started shaking.
No, I'm not surprised. Sanargo is still a developing area, and the people of Ghana are now moving from the center to the
I'm telling you that, Kwame, massive. You can quantify that in percentage terms. I doubt whether there will be any constituency in this country that can exceed. Kwame, nobody can take the credit away from the mobilization that the people did. Well, there are people with larger populations. We are hearing of even some areas. If you take the statistics, the Sukwas, they are all down.
Yeah, they didn't register.
Their figures have come down. And like I've told you, Sanargo has shot up. If you are going to quantify it, I believe we have even gone more than 50%.
Of course.
Phenomenon closer to the last 6 months. They have through even the efforts that some of us made in Parliament in question time with the minister, engagement of the minister, that a few roads have been gravelled. But beyond that, if you look at the depth of infrastructure that President Mahama did versus what they have done, it pales into
the only road that people are complaining about is the policy.
No, it's not. The person would have done it. If you go, many people will testify to the fact that I've been there a number of times. The problem with that aspect where they are talking about is drainage.
Oh, I see.
You see, all the waters, a lot of the headwaters, they come from the
the hill.
A hill there. And so when they converge, and there's a convergence at a certain point. So when the convergence comes and you don't have big storm drains to absorb it, Kwame, it becomes a problem. So
I see what you mean.
I've indicated that by the grace of Allah, when President Mahama comes
it will be
in 2021, it is an important project we will undertake.
Absolutely.
By the grace of Allah Almighty.
Okay.
So Kwame, I want to salute. I just wanted to salute the good people of the Sanao constituency, and to say that the huge turnout that they have come out with, I want to even urge them that this one is the scorpion. The snake is coming. By the grace of Allah, on December 7th this year, in 4 months' time, they should make sure that they turn out in that equal numbers with vim and bring His Excellency President Mahama. Myself as the Member of Parliament, by the grace of Allah, I believe that it is foregone by the grace of Allah Almighty. And then all NDC MPs in the various respects, in the various constituencies, and give President Mahama a resounding majority in Parliament to work with. Kwame, let me come to this. And Bernard Mona has spoken, Sabo spoke earlier, Bernard Mona, the two have spoken eloquently about the matter. And I don't need to add more. You see, it's a tragedy, Kwame, that those who are victims of political foul play, when they are helped and resuscitated to regain their rights and fundamental freedoms, when they come into power, they behave even worse than their former perpetrators. Kwame, listen to that. I'm saying that those who are victims of a political vendetta and foul play against them, Kwame, when by the grace of Allah and the intervention of other African leaders, world leaders, the situation is righted for them and they come to power, they behave worse than what their perpetrators try to do. Kwame, that is why the Bani adage that if you cure a monkey of its toothache, it will visit devastation on your corn farm. We all remember what happened in the run-up to this in Côte d'Ivoire, when there was this battle with Laurent Gbagbo and Alassane Ouattara. And part of this, apart from the third term bid and all those things that we all talked about, were serious deep-seated political crisis and even issues about your nationality, and which, of course, all of us knew were just nonsensical. But having come, reading on the back of this to power, it is time for you to go. You don't want to go. And that is the tragedy of African leaders. Kwame, not recognizing when to go. Because as a political leader, you must realize that very, very importantly. When to go. So Kwame, that is why all of us, at a certain time, you will make a decision that, look, I have had enough. I will go. Kwame, and we will all make those decisions as politicians. Okay? So if you don't realize when to go, and you insist, even sometimes to the detriment of violating cardinal principles, to force yourself on the people, Kwame, you have inexorably led your country to chaos. And so that is why I feel very, very sad that His Excellency Alassane Ouattara, who had been in these trenches for all this while and had been a victim at a certain point, but for the concerted efforts of African nations and world leaders, he may never have even become president of the Côte d'Ivoire. But this has happened. So I thought that he would have been the first person to uphold that principle and ensure that never again would Côte d'Ivoire descend into the throes of those conflicts and potential chaos that would bedevil the country. And so Kwame, I see that the African Union Commission on Good Governance and others must wake up and do something.
Right.
Sometimes they sleep too late and allow matters to degenerate to a point where the needless loss of lives take place before you come to attempt to claw back the difficulties. I think that. But Kwame, let me end on this note.
Okay.
They say when diarrhea is going around the house,
it's looking for the landlord.
It's looking for the landlord. All these things that are happening and going around is looking for Sajefu Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the legendary son, the African of the millennium. Kwame, the African who in 1,000 years there will be no African of his type. Okay? The founder of this nation, the sole, single, legitimate, uncontested, undisputed founder of this nation. Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame, it speaks to his project on the United States of Africa. Until, Kwame, we work for the realization of a United States of Africa, where all Africans, like we have, long before the EU was crafted. Kwame Nkrumah had that idea already and floated it among African leaders. A few progressive African leaders bought into that vision. There were some detractors who, of course, thought Nkrumah wanted to be president of Africa. But Kwame, that holds the answer. Because you see, small balkanized countries like Ghana, small country, Ghana, Togo, Rwanda, Burundi, those small countries, even Nigeria, South Africa, Kwame, they cannot survive today's global politics. The politics of global coalescence of nations. Nations coalescing. Well, look, Kwame, Ghana was competing with Germany. What chance did we stand? Competing with the United Kingdom, competing with France, competing with the US. At that English single level, we didn't stand. Now we are competing against EU. Germany is now there with France, with Britain. Now Britain is opted out. All these other countries, Netherlands, put all of them together. What chance do we stand?
Yeah.
And so, if we don't realize that, and also deal with these balkanized, small, non-viable entities that we are operating as Africa, Kwame, we will get extinct one day.
Okay.
And our people's hopes and aspirations for a better life, Kwame, can never be realized. Because Africa is the richest continent. Kwame, what Africa has about 1/3 of the wealth and mineral resources of the whole world. But we are the poorest. Can't we analyze the tragedy? How can you be the richest continent and yet how about the poorest people? It speaks volumes about your inability to control and utilize the resources for the benefit of your people.
Okay.
So Kwame, that's why when topics like this come, we become passionate. Because you see the answer is there. The answer had been crafted for us. The answer was started by the great Osagyefo.
And yet somehow...
But today we have leaders who are thinking they want to be president and for their names to be engraved so that they can wear big medals and go around with their shoulders high with some pomposity. Useless pomposity.
Thank you.
That he is president. He is president of a country.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you. About
the lives of the people on the continent.
Thank you. Well, so let me remind the viewers again that we're streaming live on Facebook, and so your messages, your thoughts, your comments should be channeled through our Facebook platform, which is Pan African Television, because we have a little challenge with the WhatsApp number. So I would ask that you share with us your thoughts via Facebook. I'm going to read all of that. I'll make time and I'll read all of those messages on our Facebook page. Now let's come back home and deal with some very important issues as well. Two issues that we have boxed together has got to do with Mahama and the MPP, obviously. So we're going to be dealing with that. Probably that will be the last topic. But what is most crucial has to do with the assertion that the EC chairperson has made some startling revelation about the new voter register, and the fact that we have minors and we have foreigners, and that obviously has led to the bloating of the new voter register. The Inside newspaper actually captured that particular story, but I also want us to, on the basis of this particular topic, address the ASEPA petition to the president to have Germensa removed and the response from the presidency, because we had a prior conversation, and I think that my panelists have some very wonderful statements, or if you will, arguments to put forward. And so we're going to be dealing with that particular issue and marry that with this particular issue so that we can get the issues clearer. Let me start with you, Bernard Bona, on this subject matter, please.
Did the Electoral Commission really say that the current or the being compiled voters register, even before it can be finalized, is imperfect, and that there are minors inside the voters register, and that there are foreigners inside the voters register? They said that. So what are they going to do to clean it? I thought that it was impossible and too expensive to engage in a cleaning of a voters register than to do a new voters register.
Pardon?
I thought that by the logic of the Electoral Commission, it was impossible and too costly to clean a voters register than to do a new voters register. Now that their own admittance is that the voters register that is being compiled is imperfect, is full of impurities, wouldn't it be better for the Electoral Commission to start afresh to do a new voters register, because it will be less expensive and it will be easier to do a new voters register than to clean an already existing voters register? Sometimes when you listen to leaders of our institutions, you feel like choking. Because we said, if the 2012 voters register, which brought President Mahama into office, which augmented in 2016, took out President Mahama and brought in Akufo-Addo, brought ABF Husseini and the other 274 members of parliament, led to the creation of new regions, led to the elections of assembly members on the 17th of December 2019, that it was possible to cleanse that voters register than to do a new voters register. The Electoral Commission said no. The cost of doing a new voters register was far less than the cost of cleaning the voters register. So, ab initio, in fact, we have not yet had the final. The Electoral Commission said that minors and foreigners bloat new voters register. So Jean Mensah and her deputies or members of the Electoral Commission are candidates for prosecution. They are candidates for prosecution for deceiving the people of Ghana, for causing financial loss to the state, and risking the people of Ghana in a manner that is unimaginable. They are candidates for prosecution because they told a huge lie, which huge lie has today exposed before all of us that after all, there is no perfect system. And so the perfect system that the Electoral Commission put before us, where is it? Where is that perfect system? The bloated register that they are talking about, the reasons for which we had to change the old voters register, today they are telling us that it's bloated. But they've not told us one other thing, Alaji. The other thing that they have not told us is that there are still dead members on the current voters register that is compiled.
That's very true. Last Saturday, a friend, somebody that I know died.
You understand? If you go to Bangkok, in the Nadoli Kaleo district, a prominent member of our society we call Fireman passed on after registration. Just the day before yesterday, I got a call that the former Director General of GBC lost his son at the 37 Military Hospital, who many of these people have registered. And so the voters register is already bloated by the number of people who are dying even before the elections. Yet it was one of the bases for which we had to do this obnoxious and needless voters register that already is suffering the kind of imperfections that we have. You see, I just think that people had an opportunity to eat our money, to speak it in Ghanaian terms, to eat our money.
I mean chop
our money. And therefore, why lose that opportunity? So they grabbed the moment and said that they had the option to go and do a new voters register. Whilst I was coming to Accra, I had the opportunity to be in the flight with the MPP candidate for Wa East. I'm sorry I'm saying this. Then he told me that the arguments are made that people did not listen happened in his electoral constituency. People went to the voter registration center with their old ID cards. Because when they go and mention their names, their local names, the registration officers don't know how to spell it. So what do? They have to take their old voter ID card, then give it to the electoral officers, and then they will look at the details and record it. Sometimes common sense is not sold in the market. It is something that we must imbibe, that this is the way we can identify ourselves. If you have nearly 38% of people vouching, and the people who are even vouching for the others you don't know, then we have crisis. So this is what the Electoral Commission has laid out. But you see, Kwame, don't let us just end it at the point that the Electoral Commission has said this. The signal that IPRAN has picked is that they are going to now use this because, as ABF Husseini was saying, look, if you go to Asokwa and other areas, the votes have diminished. And so the strongholds of the ruling party, they are not getting the votes. Alaji, are you getting me? And so they are going to use this claim of minors and foreigners on the voters register
to remove
people from opposition strongholds.
That would be disastrous.
So you will get out and you realize that your name is not there.
That would be beating war drums.
You understand? So this is the strategy that they want to embark on. Otherwise, why don't you prevent the people? In any case, Alaji, how do you prove that
somebody is 18?
Somebody is a minor.
or be under 18?
Because you are telling me that birth certificates are not legitimate documents to determine my age. Okay, so if you come and protest that my son or my daughter is underage, I will just look for, what do we call that chair? A lazy chair. Charlie, I love it. This is like East African song.
My people in the MC are having fun.
Somebody just connected the Bluetooth.
Somebody just connected the Bluetooth. It's okay, it happens. It happens.
Technology.
But the song is nice, Mom. Yes, Bernard.
So,
when you said you get a lazy chair.
No, when you say my daughter or my son is under 18 and is not qualified, I'll just go and look for a lazy chair, relax, cross my legs, and then you comb around the world to come and prove that that person is not 18. Or, yeah. Because I will not go and produce any birth set for you.
No.
In fact, if there's even birth set, its legitimacy
it's really
it's not factored.
Absolutely.
Alaji. So you see the difficulty we have. Yeah. So I'll just cross my leg and tell you that I gave birth to this child. And I'm telling you it's 18. So if you want, you can climb the tallest Iroko tree. Or you can go down the deepest part of the sea and come out. That child will be 18.
I'm sure sometimes we take some of these decisions without...
You understand?
Without knowing...
So what locus does the Electoral Commission have to come and tell us that there are minors on the voters register?
How did they even arrive at that decision?
I mean...
How did they arrive at that? No, I agree with you 100%.
You know, sometimes when you want to talk, then they say that no, you are being aggressive on them. But this is not something that you should toy with.
Absolutely. And let's even stay on this in a little bit. Before we get to Asepe's petition to the president, right? How do you even determine, first of all, if you address that issue, how do you determine who a minor is? And how do you determine who a foreigner is? Because a foreigner is anybody who at this moment does not have a voter's ID card.
Now let me give you,
an instance. So if you are from
Kwame, let me give you
Ghana's voter's ID card, you are a citizen. So
let me give you two practical situations.
Yeah.
I live in Aflao. I am a business person coming to Accra, which is the capital town of Ghana. Okay? And going to Lomé, which is the capital town of Togo. Which one is shorter? Aladi, which one is shorter?
Lomé.
So, as a businessman who wants to grow my business in capital city, I'll quickly move into Lomé, establish the needed business rights so that I can do my business there. So you will have many Ghanaians who will be in Lomé doing businesses and virtually staying there. They are Ghanaians. So when it is time for Ghanaians to do any registration, they have a legitimate right to come to their home and come and register. You say because I'm doing business in Lomé, I live in Lomé, my citizenship has been obliterated, and that you close borders to prevent me, who is a legitimate Ghanaian, from coming to come and register. What is this?
Anyway, so I'm
just giving you this practical example. I had to go to Pekpra. And then
my hometown.
Yes. And from Pekpra, The problem that we're having is that a cousin of the Kpekpera Naba, direct cousin, who was working in Kuranza and decided to migrate to go and do farming, but because the area there's no space, he crossed to go and do farming in Togo. When it was this registration, he was crossing and they arrested him and said that he was not a Ghanaian. He was prosecuted or being prosecuted in Bako. So we had to go there. I went to court with the Kpekpera Naba. He said, this is my uncle's son. The judge had to grant him bail. Just because the farmlands, and look, if you want to walk from Kpekpera, walk. I'm not saying take a motor or a bicycle. It takes you 10 minutes to walk into Togo. So he had a farmland in Togo. And that means that he cannot come to his country to come and register. And because of that, he was a candidate for court. Until the Naba himself got there and said, look, this is the lineage. This is the person. This is the migrator. He just got to Ghana 5 years, to Kpekpera 5 years ago because he was even working in Kuranza. Most of his family members are still in Kuranza. So that means that we cannot, I mean, what is this? These are artificial borders that were imposed on us by the 1844 Berlin Conference. Somebody just sat somewhere and took a pencil and demarcated that this part belongs to Togo, this part belongs to Ghana. And because of that, we are foolishly.
I mean 1884.
You understand? We are foolishly adhering to those artificial creations imposed on us.
Bernard, you spoke about prosecutions. And you said that the Electoral Commission has caused financial loss to the state and that they are candidates for prosecution. Which means that the petition that was sent by ASEPA to the president should have triggered some removal process. Are you disappointed?
I think that you are missing 2 points. I'll come to the ASEPA petition.
Okay,
I've just spoken about
justify.
I've said this, and I'm saying that on the basis of these claims by the EC, not by me, they are candidates for prosecution because they told us that the voter register for which we had to bring in this exercise was bloated. It was full of foreigners. It was full of minors. It was full of dead people.
Okay.
And so I was happy that this current register would terminate deaths in our country. People will not die again. Because if that voter register was full of people who had died, then you were doing a new voters register because people have died and their names are known, Alaji, then it means that we will not die any longer. And so I was excited. Unfortunately, people are still dying, even before the elections can be occasioned. Now you are telling us that foreigners are on the voters register, minors are on the voters register. You lied to be able to eat our money. You lied to be able to engage in an exercise that is frivolous. You lied to risk the lives of many people, and therefore you are a candidate for prosecution.
Come to ASEPA and then
now to ASEPA. What did ASEPA do? ASEPA simply said that the Access Declaration law requires that you should submit to the office of the Attorney General, Auditor General, a declaration of your assets.
Absolutely.
When you take over a public institution, particularly of the high office of chairperson of the Electoral Commission. Even as I disagree with the law in its current form, because when you declare, it is kept as a private document. It is not for public consumption. And when you exit office and you declare your assets, it's also kept as a private document. It's not brought to public scrutiny.
Unless somebody challenges it.
You understand? It's not brought into public scrutiny. I disagree with that form of asset declaration. I think that asset declaration must be made public. Jean Mensah has declared that she has one house, she has this. At the end of the day, we will see, during her tenure, we see that she's building a huge facility around cantonment. So you compare her income with what is on the ground and see that given her source of income and everything, whether she has capacity to do what she is doing. And unfortunately, that is not the asset declaration that we have. It's just done. So you see MPs will declare their assets quietly, and when they exit office, they declare their asset quietly, and nobody hears. In spite of that, that is the law that we have. Declare your assets. Jean Mensah failed to do the honorable thing. ASEPA petitions charge Siraj acknowledged that indeed Jean Mensah did not file her access declaration after a comprehensive check. And Siraj went further to say that they should take steps to do that and not to repeat it. Is there a position for repeating? But in order to massage it so that Jean Mensah doesn't suffer criminal charges, they said that she should go and file her access to the Auditor General, in spite of the fact that the period within which she should file had elapsed. Now, ASEPA on that basis decided that they will go and file a petition to the President. And what was Mr. President supposed to do? Mr. President, by their own logic in the removal of Charlotte Osei, was simply to act as a conveyor belt. Convey this to the Judicial Council and let them give the President a verdict. The President simply writes to say that the Chief Justice did not find anything meritorious and criminal about it, and therefore they are unable to remove Jean Mensah. For me, two things set out clearly. One instance, the Electoral Commission can be removed by a mere petition with people whose petitioners whose identity was even unknown. You recall that one, Alaji? The petitioners were unknown, yet the President acted on it. This one, the petitioners are known. The President could not act on it. And the President says that there is nothing prima facie about the evidence that has been provided. So, it's okay. No, so it's obvious to me that the President has played double standards in this matter. But it is good record, because another president will act on it. And I don't know whether that will be President Reverend Ajay or President Samson Asaki. Well, I speak for my party, and I'm looking at the presidential hover. And I'm saying that I don't know whether it will be President Reverend Ajay or President Samson Asaki or President Emmanuel Anyudoho. Any one of them will certainly act, because we will say that these things must not be tolerated. And therefore, Jean Mensah and her team should not think that they are saved by this attempt by President Akufo-Addo to whitewash the ASEPA petition.
Thank you very, 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 very much, Bernard Mona. Let me now come to you, Sabo.
Kwame.
Yes, my boss.
I have listened to my
Before you go on, let me plead with my technical team that today they will give me an extension of time, because we need to really exhaust this issue. So please.
Because at least I have come.
Yes, you have come. Bernard has come.
Including the music they played.
I was enjoying it. Like
yeah. All right. So thank you, Sabo.
Yes, I have listened to him very attentively.
And you are very quiet too.
Yes.
So you expect Bernard to be also very quiet.
Well, not. I'm not even actually heading towards that direction.
But I'm just saying it on your behalf.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think, yes, it's good. You've mentioned that one. Well, let me just try to bring out some of the issues that he has just said. But you said we should bulk it together with the other.
No, the ASEPA. You know, ASEPA's petition. I think Bernard touched on it at the last minute.
Oh, okay.
So that,
no. Earlier on, okay. So,
no, that one will be for when we are discussing Reject Mahama.
Okay. Then thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. The new voters register, like he was saying, that is bloated with minors, foreigners, and diseased persons. And he does not actually consider this new voters register as credible. And for that matter, the EC needs to be taken on. What is quite intriguing is this. As we speak today, I think it was on Thursday? No, Wednesday. It was sort of on Tuesday, sorry. Tuesday was the last day for the challenge. The panel that normally sit down to determine the authenticity of one being a Ghanaian or not being a Ghanaian. And as at the time this statement came out, the EC made it very clear to all of us that the current register that we have now is provisional until we get all these exercises done. Then it will now be formalized as the register that will take us into the 2020 elections. Kwame, don't forget that the law also does not allow any individual in this country to literally or physically stop somebody from registering just on the suspicion that the person is not qualified to be in the register. There are procedure and processes that need to be followed. So, if at the end of the registration exercise and these panels have come out with their reports and have decided to expunge, or better still, refuse to give the cards to those who have been identified as not Ghanaians, as minors, and the EC decide to make it public because they're supposed to account to us. The register is a public document. It is not a private document. So they're supposed to account to us. And they are now telling us that these are some of the anomalies that they have found in the register. I find it difficult to understand where my brother is coming from. And no wonder. and you've eaten a lot of TZ. You've eaten a lot of TZ, so I can understand you.
The reason for which I'm looking fresh.
But some TZ is the best food.
Oh, I'm not saying anything. That is coming from Sankana.
You are eating TZ from our best food.
Big bro,
Big
bro, you agree with me that when you agree with me that when your belly is full of TZ,
Yes.
you are energized to do something that you are not even taxed to do. Thank you.
I forgive you on that one.
So Kwame, for me, I think we should rather laud the EC for accounting to us on day-to-day basis as to the true nature of the register. So if you have any contributions like my brother was making this morning, or is making this morning, sorry, then we can bring them on board to make sure that we have an acceptable voters register. So for this, let me assure him that yes, the EC has come out to account to us that at the end of the registration exercise, these were some of the anomalies that they found in the register. However, of course, they are working to make sure that this register is clean of these people. The dead persons that he was to tackle on, I was fine. I didn't understand him until when he started saying that they thought that this new register, nobody would die. Then I started getting him where he's actually coming from. I mean, we are not saying that the old register that contained the names of deceased persons was not all that credible for elections. However, what made it not credible is that there was no any attempt, there was no any conscious effort to make sure that that register is cleaned of those names. I'm coming. Of course, Charlotte said was supposed to do that. She didn't do it and took out to the 2016 election. And it is by, Jean has to conduct an election. So you cannot actually get Jean in this particular regard. No. You just shot yourself in the foot. Okay. Oh, let me finish. Yeah. Let me finish.
The NIA card.
Kwame.
The voter register was not clean.
Kwame.
I get a lot, but let him make his point, and then
Kwame. The point is that Jane Mensah Jane Mensah, is it Nana in her name too?
No, Jane Adokwe.
Okay.
No, it's a very sense.
No, because I wanted to say that there's a need for her to check that name very well.
Sabu.
Jane Mensah is just yet to take us into an election.
No, she has. She took us through district assembly elections.
He is talking about general elections.
She took us through a referendum.
I think Sabo is talking about general elections. So let's allow. You see, let's allow Sabo. But you know what he's talking about. Let's allow.
No. I like the
district assembly elections. Not
let the interjection respectfully.
No, at the district assembly elections, not.
Bernard, respectfully.
I just asked a question.
You see, there are elections. There are elections. They are absolutely. But Bernard, let's allow.
Unfortunately for him, the kind of drumming that he's actually drumming right now is the kind of dance that I like dancing. This is a assembly election that Jane Mensah took us through, and then the referendum that he's talking about, where the old registers thing that she used. So she's stand not to be questioned on anything with regards to this new register. We are actually talking about the new register.
Absolutely.
So it has nothing to do with the election that you are talking about. Now let me come back to the new register. She's here to take us into an election. And she is doing her best to make sure that we do not go back to the problems that brought us where we are today. So indeed, if she was somebody who doesn't actually mean well for this country, who doesn't want to be neutral to all parties, then she will have sat on what is even just contained in the register. She is the one who brought it. It's not anybody who saw it and brought it out. She is the one who brought those issues out. And of course, the Dogombes have a saying that if you want to cure, or if you want to find cure for your sickness, you better sell your sickness. How are you getting me?
Absolutely.
So she's actually selling the sickness that is contained in the register so that we can find cure for it. Just like what my brother did this morning. He has also suggested certain things that can be done to make sure that we have a credible register. That is not bad idea. So that is exactly what Jane
Mensah.
You see?
Jane Mensah.
He's pronouncing the next vice president.
Jane Mensah.
You know, I don't want
Jane Mensah.
I don't want to be written at my brother.
Let me allow you.
Do you believe that today, as we speak, the most popular pronunciation in Ghana today is COVID-19? Is it a good thing? Is it a good thing?
Jane Mensah.
So Jinana, in fact. So Kwame, that is it. Let us come to citizenship. This and that he was talking. He made a descent of Togo, somebody selling Lome and the rest. Kwame, like I've always said, I'm a Dogomba man, but I always make an attempt to speak English and to understand English. But I don't think whether what I'm saying is the perfect one or not. I know we have citizenship and we also have sovereignty, and these two things lock or they intertwine, and if care is not taken and you're trying to separate the two, you may destroy the two all. As citizens, yes, we have rights and we owe a duty to make sure that what is of national interest, we take part in it. And as a sovereign country, we also have the right to make sure that we protect our territorial boundaries and our internal issues. So if you are a citizen and you are working in a different country and your country is going to embark on an exercise and has come out with a guideline as to how the exercise should be conducted to make sure that there are no infiltrates, I believe when you follow the guidelines as expected or as outlined by the leaders of the country, you wouldn't have any problem. We all know that when it is this time, it was publicly made known aware. And it is just that this time around, because of COVID-19, that it is even blown out of proportion. That we always close our borders to make sure that we don't get infiltrates onto our voters register. And you were given the time, the date. It was being announced. Everything was being said. And you wait until they close the border and you tell me that you are a citizen and you are denied. It's just like a curfew in this country. Kwame, if there's curfew in Accra and you are here, Pan-Africa TV here, what is your legitimate workplace? And they say by 6 o'clock, no movement on the road because there's curfew. And you stay here up to 6. Will you tell me that because your house belongs to you, you have every right to enter into your house? Nobody can stop you from going to your house? Can you do that? No, Kwame, you are a law student.
Of course.
You can't do that. So why do you want us to do it here, in this particular regard? Nobody is denying anybody the right to have his name on the register, provided you follow the due process of the law. But if you go against the law will come after you, regardless of who you are. So that one, I don't see it fly at all. Then, of course, the last one that he mentioned, asset declaration. Kwame,
I told you.
This one, I agree with him absolutely. Except that, like he was saying, this thing has been with us all these years. Up to date. Even as we speak, I don't know how many of our ministers have declared their assets. I don't know how many of our public office holders have declared their assets. So why did you wait till today when you know that she has a lot on her decks to work on? It's just another attempt of diversionary tactics. Just to make sure that this will actually dip into her time and then make her not be able to do what is expected of her. So in the long run, they say, but we said it, that she can't do it. We know where you are actually taking us to. But I don't think she'll get distracted.
Okay.
She will continue to work on the voters register. If you have any problem, and let me tell Kwame, I am not into security services and the rest, but I think, and I'm not into audit service, but I think with this asset declaration, to me, as an ordinary person, it's so easy to get the asset of a public office holder without he himself actually complying with you. Because in this country, there is no any asset that you acquire that does not go through some kind of registration or some kind of public listing. That we can easily cross-check. Once Kwame, we know Kwame is working on Panama, you become a public listing. And for that, it's so easy to go to these institutions to find how many buildings do you have. Is that not it?
Unless it's bought in another person's name.
That's what I'm saying. And even when it is bought in another person, when you are declaring your asset, that asset cannot be added onto your assets because it is not actually in your name. Unless there's any criminal investigation that will then expose you. So this one too, I don't even say any big deal about it. That even today, when we want to actually investigate what do you call it, Jane Mensah, with regards to the kind of asset that she has in this country, that cannot be done. It can easily be done, even if she has some in London or United States of America. So I believe the best thing, and lastly, Kwame, he was saying something about even in some of our strongholds, and we are bleeding some of the vote, what do you call it, the voters register. It has gone down, and what have you, Kwame? When I heard of Ashanti region reducing, and some of the other things being reduced and the rest, I said, Alhamdulillah, I praise God, in fact, for helping us to come this far. The Ashanti region, some votes has gone down.
Why?
I praise, what do you call him? Chamaun to me. I praise my good friend.
Abronya.
No, the secretary. Sampine.
You don't even know your own people.
Oh, in fact, he's my very good friend, Sampine. They're very, not, but thank you. No, of course.
But why are you thanking them for what?
I'm for the good work done.
Why?
In fact, I'm very proud of them. Let me tell you, the 1 million votes that these people have always been talking about, we know where they've been bringing it from.
Where?
From these are the ghost names and people that they normally bring from Cote d'Ivoire and other places to come to the center of Ashanti region and put all these names in the voters register. Thank God that this time round, all these names have been clean and have actually drastically reduced that ghost 1 million votes that they've always found their ways into. So now let's wait and see.
Thank you.
Whether they like it or not, we are taking that particular seat. Right. That one, I can bet you on that.
All right, thank you very much, Sabo. Now, before I come to other boy, let me go for my last commercial break. So viewers, please bear with me just some few seconds. I shall return shortly.
Breakfast today, every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Breakfast today, every day. Every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
But Honorable Zeni, I don't want to belabor anything. Please, let's get to you, sir.
Yes.
Facebook.
Kwame.
From 305 to 200,
Kwame.
200 now.
See, there's some inevitability about the truth.
195.
You can run away from the truth. You can plant as much falsehood as you want to get your selfish interest through. But Kwame, I can assure you that truth has never triumphed over falsehood.
I don't get it. Falsehood has never triumphed, or truth has never.
Falsehood has never triumphed over truth.
Okay.
No matter the thing with which you propagate the falsehood.
Absolutely.
So falsehood can never triumph over truth. Thank you for that. Correcting me.
You see, this you are what you said.
What you said with the face mask.
So if the coronavirus was on the what you said, now you will take it and go and cover your nose.
No, he will clean.
Thank you for the education. I'm happy. At least the principle is that all of us must ensure that the mask is worn and worn at the appropriate place when in public. I agree with you. I will accept.
The what you said can attract the virus.
And so in this case, don't take it back. Just remove it completely.
I should remove the mask.
Yes, completely.
Okay. Thank you very much.
It's better to remove and put it down.
Imperfect as I am, I'm somebody who is
always ready and willing to.
No, he's my big brother. I understand him.
I'm not like some people who think they know all. Even the best advice that is given them, even in their ignorance, they will not accept the advice and go and make themselves out. So, Kwame.
Yes, sir.
So, I was saying about the inevitability of the triumph of truth over falsehood. That is why our people say that, Kwame, if you send your son to the hereafter, he will return. You may not recognize him. Kwame, I'm sure we are all minded by science. Kwame, you know science. And you know gravity. The laws of gravity. So somebody can tell you that he doesn't believe in the law of gravity. Okay? And that it doesn't work. But Kwame, ask him to jump and see whether he will suspend. Unless he's on the moon. If he's on Earth, the law of gravity works. If you jump, you will come down. You won't suspend. This electoral commission chaired by Madam Jean Mensah propagated a lot of falsehood. And Kwame, I think some of us, in the light of what they themselves have said, we intend to move motions in Parliament. We intend to enact the requisite processes in Parliament to bring them before the House for contempt, for lying to Parliament, for lying to the good people of this country. Because Kwame, they came and gave us not just even the Committee on Subsidiary Legislation, but the Committee of the Whole. They came and gave us copious assurances of the system they were bringing in. Kwame, which will be foolproof.
Facial recognition.
Kwame, including facial recognition, which was budgeted for and Parliament approved. Kwame, the monies that we approved for Jinmensa in hundreds of millions of Ghana cedis. Kwame, huge money, which can transform this country in many areas. In fact, Nana Akufo-Addo had taken that money, even the failed promise of 350 brand new secondary schools, which he hasn't delivered. Pengwe, Dakakulo, 1, Zayine, he hasn't delivered. If he had even used that money, he could have even tried and gotten a few to salvage himself from the embarrassment. But Kwame, this is a commission that came before us and gave us those promises that, 1, even the incidents of getting people to register double won't happen because they have a software which as soon as you get in, they will detect it and take it off. They told us in Parliament. Today, I'm surprised. I'm hearing double registration. How did that happen with the software that they said they have to even detect it before it gets there? What happened? Kwame, I remember I registered as a voter. I didn't go through facial recognition. What happened? So what happened to the money that was budgeted for that? Kwame, I know that the EC adopted the cluster system because they did not have the full complement of the machines to do the work. So in previous exercises that we have gone to register, you sit at your polling station and they bring all the machines and you are registered at your polling station. But because the EC did not have the full complement of the machines, Kwame, they did a cluster of 6 polling stations. Okay? So that they will finish one before they go to the other, after 6 days. Kwame, what happened to, we budgeted knowing very well that there were the budget that was brought before Parliament from the Electoral Commission indicated that all polling stations were going to get the machines, and the budget was approved on the basis of that. So Kwame, what has happened with the fewer machines that were bought? Where is the rest of the money? Inakudina. Lorima ban. Na sikanu wahi. Ega malio ede gaede. Kwame, where is the money for the machines that were supposed to be bought for every polling station? Now you bought 1 in 6. I'm sure that from their own calculation, 1 in 5 or 1 in 6. That's about at most 20% of the machines. Where is the 80% of the money? Kwame, we will demand that accountability from the Electoral Commission. No doubt about that. But today, like Comrade Benamona said, Kwame, I am hopeful that by the grace of Allah Almighty under President Mahama, and Kwame, I want to serve notice that if not if, but when, even when President Mahama comes and some of these matters are not taken up, Kwame, unless some of us are not alive, by the grace of Allah, even under our own government, these matters will be taken up. These demands for accountability, Kwame, will be taken up, because we will never allow the good people of this country to be shortchanged in such a capricious and callous manner, where this exercise was needless. Because we have said that the Electoral Commission, even in where they said they had reservations about the register, because Kwame, it's inevitable. Every day people die, alive. So even if you are doing a registration today, your register will be bloated by the number of people who will die before you finish the exercise. And even up to the time you go for elections, people will die. And so to the extent that the names of said people are still in the register, means the register will be bloated by that number. So clearly, these things have happened, and you indicated that you had a panacea to this matter. And today you are telling us that minors, foreigners, people whose identities cannot be determined, are all in the register. Did we go or did we come? Who are they sacking in the evening is greeting good night? So Kwame, this is unacceptable and we must get to the bottom of the matter. Kwame, it is important and we've heard other things. You know, I've been saying that, Kwame, if you hear the howling of the hyena in the neighborhood and the goat gets missing, you don't ask who caught it. So you don't put anything beyond this electoral commission. Now they are coming and we are hearing this in that they are attempting to in the attempt to expunge names. It is important for the EC to be warned that, Kwame, we all have the data with us now. Now nobody can be allowed to manipulate the figures. You remember, in the I think about 2 or 3 weeks after the voting, the registration started. No, they floated a kite and sent some numbers out. Some electoral commission officials sent some numbers out. We in the NDC came out to counter it because we had some figures, and some of the figures in Ashanti region were doubled, tripled, and even quadrupled. We had to come out and bring the real figures out for them to beat a hasty retreat and indicate that those figures were not actually, and those who put it out were not authorized to do so. Kwame, we are serving notice to the EC that we are close with all the figures that is there. And Kwame, I'm just giving you an example. I gave you an example of my constituency. Some people attempted to try and see whether they could tinker, but let me congratulate the EC. They did a very good work at the local level and even at the level of the region. I'm sure some people were visibly frightened at the headquarters when they saw the Sanargo figures and others. And knowing Sanargo and the Blichina people for what they would do, what they have always done and what they would do, I'm sure there was some small panic. But all the figures, Kwame, will add up. So nobody should attempt to go and say in NDC strongholds they will take names allegedly on account of the fact that they say they have registered double, because that will be resisted. And go and pad up the numbers in certain areas where the expected numbers did not add up. They will not. We will maintain the highest level of vigilance and ensure that not a single Ghanaian will be shortchanged. Kwame, because of the lack of time, let me deal briefly with the ASEPA thing.
Okay.
You see, Kwame, on what grounds and by what method was Madam Charlotte Osei removed? I remember in the heated arguments of those days, the MPP and the president said that in alliance and in compliance with Article 146, through which the search removal could take place, he, the president, was only a mere conveyor belt. Listen to that argument. And that if a petition came, he had no choice, he had no option but to present it in accordance with the dictates of that article for the Chief Justice to so act on the matter. Kwame, ASEPA made this one in when? This in June, I think so.
Yeah, it was in June.
Okay. What has happened to the petition? The president has ceased being a conveyor belt. When it comes to Madam Charlotte Osei, he's a conveyor belt. He has no option than to send it. If he did send it, what has happened at the level of the Chief Justice end? Because the public have an inalienable right to be told.
Okay. Yep. So, but there's a correspondence from His Lordship the Chief Justice.
Okay.
Signed by Justice Cynthia Pamela Addo, Judicial Secretary.
Okay.
Dated 10th of August 2020.
Okay.
In the matter of search in the matter of petition for the removal of Mrs. Jan Mensah as Electoral Commission Chairperson of Ghana,
yes,
for stated misbehavior
yes,
arising from the deliberate violation of Article 286 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. We acknowledge receipt of your letter dated 3rd of August 2020 on the above mentioned subject, the content of which are noted. I'm directed by His Lordship the Chief Justice to inform you that he acted on the petition and submitted his response to the Presidency on 15th of July 2020. Please accept the compliments of His Lordship, the Chief Justice. This was the letter this is a letter that I have relative to this subject matter. But if you're also looking for the letter that was sent from the Jubilee House, I can equally bring it out and read it out for you.
Sent by who?
Signed by Nana Asante Bedietuo, Secretary to the President, dated was it? Is this 27th of July 2020. And do you want me to read it out, the content for you?
No, just the basic things. What
okay, so with reference to your petition dated 9th of June 2020 on the above subject matter, I have been instructed by the President to inform you of the outcome of the reliefs contained in your petition. Upon receipt of your petition, the President, by letter dated 11th of June 2020, referred it together with its incidental papers to the Chief Justice in accordance with the teachings of Article 1463 of the Constitution. By letter dated 15th of July 2020, the Chief Justice conveyed his determination of whether or not there was a prima facie case. The Chief Justice found that the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice charge did not make any finding that the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mrs. Jan Adukwe Mensah, had committed any criminal offense. Furthermore, the Chief Justice did not find any statute that criminalizes the non-declaration of assets within the time stipulated in the Constitution. The Chief Justice then determined that no prima facie case had been made by your petition to warrant the impeachment of the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mrs. Jan Adukwe Mensah. In any event, Shraj did not make any adverse findings against the chairperson as the investigation was terminated and the complaint dismissed after the chairperson declared her assets on the 17th of February 2020. Accordingly, I'm directed by the President to inform you that your petition has been dismissed. Please accept the President's best wishes. Copied, Mensah Thompson, Executive Director, ASEPA. Copied, the Vice President of Ghana and the Chief of Staff of Ghana.
Kwame.
Yep.
Was it not indicated that Chirag had found, among other things, that at the time that she was supposed to file assets, she hadn't done so? Was that not abundantly clear that at that material moment, she had not filed her assets? And so, by what stage of logic can anybody bring this into adduce any other evidence to support the fact that she had committed no crime? When under Article 286, it's abundantly clear about assets declaration and when those assets declarations were supposed to have been done. And if they were not done at the time that they were supposed to have been done, is that not a violation of the law?
Absolutely.
So it's amazing how she could have been extricated from this mess. You see, and that's why I'm saying that the complicity will be very clear. And I think that
okay.
I'm not surprised, Kwame. I'm not surprised that this will happen under MPP because why? They will do everything jealously to guard G. Mensah. Because there's still the dirty agenda is still not fulfilled yet. And so for me,
all right,
it's work in progress.
Okay.
But I think that
right,
the good people of this country, and I want to salute Mensah Thompson for his patriotism and his love for this country and his love to protect our democracy.
All right, thank you.
These are people who not only test the laws. Kwame, I've been saying something, and especially our judges to know that when Allah Almighty makes you a judge on this earth, you the judge will be judged tomorrow. You are a judge on earth. Tomorrow Almighty Allah will judge you, and He will judge you that when the people came before you, did you give them justice, or you gave them what somebody wanted you to give them? And so the superior judgment is awaiting everybody, and especially so if you are a judge, a lot of power put in your hands to judge people, and you sit on justice and give injustice to people. God Almighty tomorrow will judge you.
Okay.
So be cognizant of that.
Okay.
That powerful as you are on earth today, you will be a weakling, useless person before your Almighty tomorrow, when there will be no other person to intercede for you. Because Kwame, when we all go there will be no lawyer to speak for anybody. It's your deeds that will speak for you.
Thank you very much, Honorable A.B. Fuseni. Good morning to you, Kwame. Kindly ask Sabo this question for me. Why is the MPP always defending the EC chair Or is it because she was appointed by the president and your good friend Bashiru Issa from Pusiga Windana? Thank you, Bashiru. Cindy Dipku says, good morning to you, KOD, and your panelists. This double registration means the EC wasn't prepared, in my opinion, to undertake this exercise. The fact still being that the MPP is out to steal votes and we NDC are ready to match them boot for boot. How can machines be faulty just when the registration started? This government is playing with Ghanaians. Bernard Mona is the 21st century in Chroma. I admire him and I respect him a lot. Tell Bernard I admire him a lot, and the Gati youth look up to him. Cindy Dipku. Cindy.
What is this?
Jamesa says, Musa Abatoy, Jamesa says that there are minors and are various registered.
You deliberately ignore.
Is she already admitting she did a poor job and discrediting the register she superintendent over? The compilation of the new voters register is senseless and a waste of taxpayers' money. 440 million Ghana cedis must be investigated. Musa Abattoir in Kumasi. Good morning to you, KOD. EC and the MPP have come to the realization that the mass registration of the senior high school final year students, which was done regardless of their true ages, will no longer work to their advantage. Hence, they are planned to delete many of their names. Otherwise, how did the names of minors and foreigners get into a first-class biometric system the EC claim they had procured? This is also a very good point. It didn't cross my mind like that, but I think you've made a very important point. A.U. Farouk in Tamale North says, good morning to you. Indeed, when corruption intensifies in this country, it tends to draw the interest of the professional public, but the Akufo-Addo clearly doesn't care because it benefits him and his family members. Sabo, okay. Good morning to you. You are watching. I just saw it. Good morning to you, KOD. Since when did Germans have become a prophetess to detect the authenticity authenticity of one being a Ghanaian or not, per the few records and a pick they have? Felicitas Wakaria says, your new voters register is containing cancerous cells. The old one possibly contained just a small headache, Mr. MPP. Ibrahim Washara says, I don't understand, Sabo. I hope and pray Allah come December 7th he will go and vote and his name will not be there. What are you talking about? Faruddin Mesbah says, I agree with you, Chairman Mona Bataila. Why will you declare your asset and not disclose it to the public? What is the point? You are absolutely right with regards to the EC. Something must be done. Shabab Moses says, good morning to you, KOD and Pan-African TV. Please tell Honorable Ibi Husseini that my grandma Hajia Hamjato in Fielmuo, Sesala West, likes the way he repeats your name, Kwame, and his proverbs. She likes watching the show when Honorable is on it, and she salutes him from Shashabdin. Your grandmother should always watch you, not just when AB is here. Hey, Charlie. Cindy Dipku, you sent it via text on my phone, and you sent it on Facebook as well. I'll tell Bernard, no problem. Frederick Aqua says, cocoa production in 2019-2020. Number one, Cote d'Ivoire, 2,180,000 metric tons. Ghana, 850,000 metric tons. Swalesu governor says, KOD, the new register, new machine, same problem. They are trying to rig the election in favor of the MPP. We will match them cutlass for cutlass, boot for boot, Chalawati for Chalawati. Egbi Charles says, good morning to KOD. Madam Jean Mensah is a true representation of incompetence. Adding of your own data, you cannot do that. And you call yourself an EC person, all right. Abdul Basit Abdullah says, in fact, EC wants to rig the election. We won't allow that. Jacob Zakaria says she's creating a chance for a court case if MPP loses. Anthony Issa says, if the EC want, they should do another register. It will surprise them. December 7, boot for boot. T.A. Rahman is watching. Good morning to you, Mr. Kwame. I know my former boss at Airtel. You are watching. Good morning to you. I salute you, sir. And I've seen all the good works you're doing in Dome-Kwabenya constituency. I salute you this morning. Thank you very, very, very kindly.
I'm just getting some information. I don't know that the Electoral Commission office on fire.
Hey, why? They want
I hope
they want to destroy the data.
I don't know whether it's true.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, what's happening?
The Convention People's Party will be holding their National Delegates Conference.
CPP.
And I want to wish all comrades.
Oh, when is it?
I think tomorrow 15th.
Oh, wow.
all comrades.
Yeah, all comrades well.
And I hope that they will choose leaders
wisely
that will put the interests of the party and our unification agenda forward than those who will put themselves above the interests of the party. I wish each and every contestant the best, and I hope that the delegates will do the needful. Where there is the need to maintain, they should maintain. Where there is the need to change, they should change. God bless the CPP and God bless Ghana.
Nkrumah maintained the CPP and never sold it to reactionary elements. So no person who inherits the CPP today will think of selling the CPP, let alone to selling it to reactionary elements. May those who uphold the core principles and progressive values of the CPP win and continue to.
Yirimambo, I know you are winning.
Oh yes,
so that one is a given.
Guy.
I wish everybody well. Uncle Bright, I wish you well. Nanaya Dantoa, I wish you well. I wish every other person well in this particular contest. Thank you again, Honorable Lady Fuseni. Thank you very kindly. Sabo! People love you. You know, there's a lady who came here, and the person, not Cindy, the person said, I like the way you mentioned Sabo's name. Sabo!
It is Sabo, not that they like Sabo, but the way you mentioned it. I don't like him too.
Sabo, I'm told you look like Nkrumah's son. What's his name, that guy?
Sekou.
Sekou. So, should I ask Sekou to your name? Sabo, thank you very much.
Sekou's name is coming from Guinea.
And it's on fire. Oh, I see. I hope. Bernard Mona, incoming MP for Nadoli Kalio constituency. Thank you very, very kindly for coming today. And to all the viewers, look, I am in love with all of you. Thank you very much for always supporting the morning show. And look, I saw all the messages. Even when I said we didn't have WhatsApp messages, you went on social media and you shared your messages. I cannot thank you enough. Like, from the depth of my soul, I'm grateful. Thank you. I'll see you guys on Monday, but tomorrow it will be Alhaji and Alhaji, the mother of all talk shows, hosted by my brother and friend Sena Nombo. Now, be minded and also be reminded that tomorrow we're going to be having the veteran Kwesi Pratt Jr. on the show. We're going to be having Gabriela Tete on the show as well. We're going to be having Kamal Dean on the show from the MPP. And who else? One last person. Who? Sam Piale is also going to be on the show. It's going to be a very exciting one. I'll see you guys on Monday. Have a very wonderful time. I'm a Pratt. I'm chasing you. I'm coming to Tamale Som. You can't be enjoying alone in Tamale. I'm coming. I'm following you. I'll see you guys on Monday. Salute you as always. Love you. See you on Monday. Bye-bye.